Morning and welcome to Dave's Home Cooking. Today I'm going to make ginger glazed mahi mahi. I've already made the marinade, which consisted of 3 tablespoons of honey, 3 tablespoons soy sauce, 3 tablespoons of balsamic vinegar, a clove of garlic minced, and a teaspoon of grated ginger, along with a tablespoon of olive oil. That's the marinade and the glaze. The fish will marinate in it for 20 minutes. Then we'll saute the fish, put that on a plate, put it in a warm oven, and then dump the reserved marinade into the pan and reduce it to a glaze to finish the fish with. I actually doubled the recipe because I also want to cook some snap peas in it. So it'll be ginger glazed mahi mahi, snap peas, squash, jasmine rice. That's today's menu. We've got our water up to a boil. I added in it some kosher salt and white pepper. So now that that's up to temp, let's dump in the jasmine rice. Just give it a quick stir. We'll bring this back to a boil, and it'll take about 15 minutes for it to absorb all that water. Now here in Austin, Texas, we have a pretty humid climate, so I have to add less water. This is 2 cups of jasmine rice, which calls for 3 cups of water. I actually used about a little more than 2.5 cups. If I were to use the whole 3 cups, because of our moist atmosphere here in Austin, the rice would come out too wet and sticky. You use a little less water here, it'll absorb the water and it'll come out fluffy and light. Rice, it's done. I'm going to let it sit there and steam like that so that it can kind of dry out a little bit. I probably used, even though trying to not use too much water, I probably still used too much. Oh well. I stirred in about a tablespoon of butter. And I wanted to mention something about the salt that I use. I like to use kosher salt. And whenever you're dealing with a recipe, if it calls for kosher salt, and all you have is regular table salt, that's fine, you can use the table salt, but cut it in half. A teaspoon of table salt is a lot more than a teaspoon of kosher salt. If you look at the 2 salts side by side, you'll see the granules are much bigger than the kosher salt. So the table salt takes up much less space. So if you have a teaspoon of table sauce, it's almost double a teaspoon of kosher. Here you can see my squash, a little salt and pepper on it, and I'm going to steam it in Pinot Grigio. Over here I have my snap peas, and I used some of the marinade and then put a little bit of Pinot Grigio in that as well, along with the marinade that I'm using for the fish. I just tested it, and that's done. These look pretty much done. Time to start on the fish. I marinated the mahi mahi for approximately 20 minutes, and then heated up a pan with a little bit of olive oil, and you can see it going away now. Got the marinade beginning to reduce into a glaze. We'll probably take the marinade and put it into this pan once we vacate the fish and we dump out the oil. Actually, we may not need to do that. You can see how the bubbles are piling up on each other. That's how you know it's thickening up and turning into a glaze. If you go much further with this, you'll get to the point where you're actually making candy. So, and hard candy at that. So, that's pretty much a glaze now. There we have it. Ginger glazed mahi mahi, jasmine rice, sugar snap peas, and squash. Looks pretty good to me.